Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, my solo wargaming project. This is a campaign between the Romans and the tribes of the Iberian Peninsula. This is the second turn of the second battle in this campaign. And let's do just a quick little recap of what's going on in this battle. In turn one, there was a lot of maneuvering, obviously, but most of the important part was a failed orders by a division commander of the Iberians, which left one of their divisions standing still. And then on the Roman part of that turn, they had some exemplary shooting from their Scorpions, which disordered a couple of units in. Actually, it disordered one unit, caused it to move through another unit, which disordered it, which caused it to give ground. So it kind of messed up another division. So 2 out of the 4 divisions and on the first turn for the Iberians were non-moving, and kind of made things very hit or miss for the Iberians on that first turn. And I thought that was going to be, I think that as this plays out, that's going to be very pivotal. In turn 2, there was some cavalry action. A couple of units of the Iberians got into combat, but they were dealt with swiftly by the Romans. So let's move on. All right, in the Iberian Order phase for turn 3. All right, now we kind of look at this kind of from the center of the battlefield to the Roman right and the Iberian left, and this is the Iberian Orders phase. So you can see where units are moving to support. Some units are charging, other units are moving to support those that are charging, just to try to get into combat with these Romans, because so far they haven't been able to do much damage to them, but the Romans have really disrupted what they've wanted to get done. Okay, here's on the left. We see on the far left the cavalry engagement still going on. Moving in from the left, we got a small skirmisher units are going at it in the edge of the woods. We have 2 cohorts, one in the front rank, one supporting, and they're both supported by Scorpions. And here we have 2 units of Scutari charging the Roman cohorts. And then back to the center, as you can see again, those center units from the Iberian center charging the center cohort. Table level view of these units getting into combat. I like pictures like this. I don't know why, but they just look action-packed. You can always see all along the line the Romans are now engaged. You can see this is just another close-up view of the Romans charging that center cohort that's out there by itself. There we go. Another view of that. And this is on the Roman right, another table view just before the units crash in and try to do some damage to these Romans and push them off the table. Here we go, another view on the right. You can see at the bottom left, just at the edge, some slingers from the Romans that are moving out towards the woods. We got the Scutari moving up to help that one Scutari unit that's been engaged. And then there's a cavalry unit coming in too. There we go. There's a cavalry unit coming in to help lend support to the engagement. There's another view of that. This is going to be a very important fight, I think. Here we have a view in the center. We got an unengaged cohort. You can see the one cohort to the top left here with the Scorpion in support being charged by 2 units of Scutari, plus their supporting Catrati light infantry. Here is a top-down view of the battlefield. I think the only thing you can't see is the cavalry combat off to the far left. Here we go, and there we go. And another view, which kind of gives you more of what's going on the right-hand side. Now at the top of the picture here in this orders phase, I had, because it was getting so jumbled up, I brought the one Celt-Iberi division back up to the top of the hill with its division commander, and they formed up on the hill. And to their right and to the left of that unit is the Iberian general and his unit of Scutari. So that's about all that's left for the Iberians that's not engaged right now. All right, that's the end of the Iberian Orders phase. Two more photos for you to take a little look at so you can get an idea of what's going to happen here in the combat phase. The Iberian combat phase of turn 3. All right, this close-up view of the cavalry combat going on. God, I do love these Victrix models. They're Iberian cavalry. I know they're a little bit big and the horses are a little too large for the time period, but my goodness, they are some good-looking models. All right, in this one, in this cavalry combat, the Roman cavalry, much to my surprise, has really held in there. They've been pushed back. They're disordered and shaken, but they did not break from combat. And I think that's going to be very important in the long run, because with most tribal contingencies when fighting the Romans, a lot of times it really comes down to the action with the cavalry. Because, you know, a Roman legion or a Roman cohort face up against another contemporary unit by itself. I mean, my money's on the Roman cohort. But you need all kinds of support and different things to happen. And with the Iberian army, they really need their cavalry contingent to win. And so far, it hasn't happened yet. All right, this is that small contest I mentioned earlier in the woods. The Catrati break the Roman slingers. I mean, it's kind of I wouldn't even call that a moral victory myself. Here we have that big combat with the two Roman cohorts against 2 units of Scutari. Boom! Bad news for the Scutari. Goodness gracious, I did not see that coming for them. They charge in with support. They rolled horribly, and they just couldn't get it done. They just couldn't get it done. And what's funny is in a lot of these combats, you're going to see it mathematically, if we want to go down that road, they only lost the combat by 1. But rolling so low on the break test chart is what got them. I mean, when you're rolling 2s and 3s on your break test, well, you know, it's bound to happen. So on this one, you know, both the Scutari units were broken from the battle. So that's really devastating. That's really devastating as far as the complete battle goes, because that means these 2 units of the Roman cohorts here, they're freed up. They really don't have anything in front of them now. Okay, this is an aerial view kind of in the combat phase towards the center. These 2 Scutari units plus their supporting Catrati to their left, fighting that individual cohort in the center. They're from the Iberian Generals unit. Here we go. You can see this. Now, as you can tell, they're a little bit more forward than where they were before. What's happened here in this combat is that the Scutari and their supports charged in. They did some damage, but again, they only lost the combat by 1. They did 3 damage to the Roman cohort, but they took 4 damage, which I spread out around all the engaged units. But on the break chart, they rolled all the units give ground and are disordered, which is a big deal. It's one thing for those 4 units to have given ground, but now they're disordered. So in the next combat phase, which is the Roman part of turn 3, this is going to play a big role. excuse me, um, it's going to play a big role, I do believe, in the upcoming turn. And you can see off here to the right, this is where those two Scutari units were destroyed, and you see the open ground in front of the two Roman cohorts. Okay, now we're moving on to the Iberian left and the Roman right. We have these, the first unit of Scutari there facing the Roman units with the red shields. Now, they've been engaged in this combat. The one behind them has moved up to support, and the cavalry to the top of the screen has moved into a supporting position. Now, you may ask a question, okay, Tim, why didn't they charge into the flank of the Roman cohorts or something? Well, when cavalry like this is moving through a fairly dense woods, they're reduced to one movement. And the only thing that they could possibly do was move to support. All right. Again, here we have another one of those instances where both units, the Roman unit with the red shields, they were the lead cohort in the combat. They became shaken. Where the Scutari unit that had been engaged with them, they became shaken as well. Both units had to roll on the break chart. The Romans held their ground in good order. The Scutari units, along with their supports, had to give ground, but the only unit that was disordered was the front combat unit that was in combat with this Roman cohort. I think that, again, we're talking, this is going to be a very big deal in the Roman turn, because here we have these instances where the Iberians didn't lose the combat by much. I mean, we're talking like by one here, in mathematically speaking. You know, they did like 5 damage to the Roman cohort, and the Iberians took 6 damage. You kind of spread that out between the actual fighting units and the cohorts, and then you wind up, you know, with damage kind of spread around. But still, this is a big, big deal as this combat phase comes to an end. All right, the end of the combat phase, Iberian half of turn 3. Now, the reason why I'm breaking this up into 2 videos is that this would have been very long, and I'm thinking that the next video of the Roman part of turn 3, unless something really wonky happens for the Romans, I think they're really going to be in the driver's seat here. The only real decision for the Roman general is, does he try to bring on his reserves? If he fails to bring them on, and he fails in his orders, I mean, he does get a reroll, but it could leave a couple of those cohorts standing around doing nothing. But they will have to turn. They can ignore the Catrati. They're light open order infantry, so they can ignore them. That's that unit to the right of those 2 freed up cohorts. They can ignore them and move to support the other cohort that's fighting the Iberian general's division. And it'll come down to whether the Iberian general's division can hold. If they can hold, then perhaps in the next turn, some of these units that are not engaged can move down off this hill and do something. But they're kind of in this, they're kind of bunched up because of the way the Romans haven't, there's really no open space in the Roman line, which I really thought would happen maybe in the charging half of this turn for the Iberians. But to have them 2 Scutari units just absolutely devastated on the charge the way they were, I think that has really swung the balance of power in towards the Romans. And the Romans have freedom of movement. That's going to be the bigger deal. is the Iberians, as you can tell from this top left picture, all their strength is almost boxed in now. So it's going to come down to this turn 3. What happens in the orders phase? Can the Romans move forward and deal the death blow, or does it drag on into turns 4 and 5? We shall see. We shall see. Well, that ends this video. I hope everybody enjoys this one. Hope you can have this on in the background while you're painting or assembling your models. But if you like this sort of thing, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a share around. If you think somebody else that you know, some friends of yours might like this sort of thing, leave a comment down below. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Just trying to do this stuff old school, you know, instead of that, what I consider the new wave, the new thing with all the videos and stuff of people rolling dice and stuff. Sometimes there's just way too much background noise for that to really sit down and kind of look at what's going on the tabletop. All right, everybody stay safe, stay well, and hopefully next week I will have turn 3, the Roman part. We'll see you then.